Jia's room was at the end of the east wing, a space that somehow managed to be both luxurious and childlike. Soft pink walls, bookshelves overflowing with stories in multiple languages, a telescope by the window for stargazing, stuffed animals arranged with military precision on her bed. The nightlight cast gentle shadows across the ceiling, constellations that Seo-jun had installed himself. She was sitting up in bed when they entered, despite Uncle Tae's report that she'd gone to sleep. Her dark eyes were wide and hopeful and terrified all at once. "Did it work?" she asked immediately, looking at their joined hands. "My plan. Did it work?" Seo-jun sat on the edge of her bed, pulling Elena down beside him. Their hands remained linked, and Jia's gaze fixed on that connection with an intensity that made Elena's heart ache. "Your plan," Seo-jun said slowly, "was manipulative, concerning, and showed a shocking disregard for appropriate boundaries." Jia's face fell. "It also," Seo-jun continued, his voice softening, "was brilliant, well executed, and came from a place of love. So yes, little boss, it worked." Jia's expression transformed. Pure joy, unfiltered and bright, spread across her face. She launched herself at both of them, wrapping her small arms around their necks, squeezing tight. "Does this mean Miss Elena is staying?" she asked, her voice muffled against Seo-jun's shoulder. "Not just for Christmas? For longer?" Elena met Seo-jun's eyes over Jia's head. They hadn't discussed specifics, hadn't made concrete plans. But looking at this child who'd lost so much, who was trying so hard to build a family from broken pieces, Elena knew her answer. "I'm staying," Elena said firmly, "as long as you both want me here." Jia pulled back, looking between them with that too-wise expression. "But something's wrong. I can tell you're both scared about something." Seo-jun's jaw tightened. He'd never lied to his daughter, Elena had learned, never sugarcoated the reality of their world. But this was different. This was asking an 8-year-old to carry adult fears. "We have some challenges ahead," Seo-jun said carefully. "Some dangerous situations I'm working to resolve. But that's not your burden to carry, Jia. Your job is to be 8 years old, to study with Miss Elena, to be safe and happy. Let me handle the complicated parts." "The Huang family," Jia said quietly. "I've heard Uncle Tae talking. They want to hurt us, and you're planning something big. Something that might make you go away." Seo-jun closed his eyes briefly. "You're too smart for your own good." "I'm exactly as smart as I need to be," Jia countered, sounding remarkably like her father. "And I'm not a baby. I know our life isn't normal. I know you do things that other fathers don't do. I know people are afraid of you, but I also know you're trying to protect me. So if Miss Elena is staying, if she's going to be part of our family, she should know everything. And so, should I?" Elena felt something shift in the room. This child, asking to be treated with honesty, demanding to be included in the reality of her own life. It was brave, and heartbreaking, and utterly reasonable. "Your father is planning to take down the organization that hurt your mother," Elena said, before Seo-jun could respond. "He's been gathering evidence for years, and when he releases it, it's going to change everything. For all of us." Jia absorbed this, her face serious. "Will you have to go to prison?" "Probably," Seo-jun said, his voice rough. "For a while." "And then what?" "And then we figure out how to have a different kind of life," Elena said, squeezing Seo-jun's hand. "A safer one, a quieter one, but we do it together, the three of us." Jia was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at her father with an expression far too mature for her age. "Mom told you to protect me," she said. "I don't remember her, but Uncle Tae told me that's what she said before she died. But Dad, protecting me doesn't mean you have to disappear. It means you have to stay. It means you have to be brave enough to change things while you're still here to see it." Seo-jun's breath caught. Elena saw tears in his eyes for the first time. "How did you get so wise?" he whispered. "I had a good teacher," Jia said, smiling at Elena. She taught me that sometimes the bravest thing is asking for help. So I'm asking, Dad, don't do this alone. Let Miss Elena help. Let Uncle Tay help. Let me help, even if it's just by being brave while you're being brave. Seo-jun pulled his daughter close, his shoulders shaking. Elena wrapped her arms around both of them, and for a long moment, they stayed like that. A family forged in fire and hope, holding each other against the darkness. When they finally pulled apart, Jia yawned hugely, the excitement and emotion catching up with her. Sleep now, Seo-jun said, tucking her in with practiced care. Tomorrow we'll start figuring everything out. Together. Promise? Jia asked, her eyes already drooping. Promise, Seo-jun and Elena said in unison. They stayed until she fell asleep, her hand holding both of theirs. Then they carefully extracted themselves and left the room, leaving the door cracked open the way Jia liked it. In the hallway, Seo-jun leaned against the wall, exhaustion written in every line of his body. She's the strongest person I know, he said quietly. And she's 8 years old. What does that say about me? It says you raised someone remarkable, Elena said. It says Soo-yeon's legacy lives on in every wise word that child speaks, and it says you're not alone anymore in trying to protect her. Seo-jun pulled Elena into his arms, holding her like she was the only solid thing in a shifting world. She rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and strong. I need to show you something, he said after a while. In my private office. Evidence I haven't shown anyone except Tae. If you're really going to help, you need to see everything. They walked through the quiet mansion to Seo-jun's private office, a room Elena had never entered. It was smaller than the formal study, more personal. Photos of Jia covered one wall, documenting every year of her life. Another wall held weapons, displayed like art. A third had maps of Seoul, marked with symbols Elena didn't understand but could guess at. Seo-jun opened a locked drawer in his desk, pulled out a laptop, and powered it on. The screen filled with files, folders, documents. This is everything, he said. Not just the Hwang syndicate. Everything. My organization structure, financial records, every crime, every deal, every person on my payroll. When I release this, I'm not just taking down my enemies. I'm destroying my own empire. Elena stared at the screen. This could put hundreds of people in prison. Yes, Seo-jun said. Many of them deserve it. Some don't. Some are just people trying to survive in a system they didn't choose. I've wrestled with that. But the alternative is letting this continue. Letting more people die. More families destroyed. I can't do that anymore. When does this go to the authorities? Elena asked. January 15th, Seo-jun said. I have a contact, someone I trust. International prosecutor, outside the local corruption. Once he has this, it's over, no taking it back. That's less than a month away, Elena realized. The charity event is December 15th. That gives us 4 weeks to prepare, to make sure Jia is protected, to get our stories straight. Our stories? Seo-jun looked at her. You're not the only one who's going to face questions, Elena pointed out. I'm Carlos Martinez's sister, living in your house, teaching your daughter. When the truth comes out, people will assume I was involved in gathering this evidence, which, as of tonight, I am. Seo-jun's expression darkened. I won't let them use you as leverage. If there's legal trouble, I'll make it clear you knew nothing until recently. No, Elena said firmly. We're in this together. You don't get to play hero and sacrifice yourself while I stand aside. If we're doing this, we're doing it as partners. We share the consequences. Elena, no, she repeated. You've spent years trying to protect everyone alone. Let someone protect you for once. Let someone stand beside you instead of behind you. That's what partners do. Seo-jun searched her face, then nodded slowly. All right. Partners. But we're smart about this. Strategic. We document everything. Build an airtight case that shows your brother was the hero, that I'm providing evidence as an act of conscience, and that you're a civilian caught in the middle who's cooperating with authorities. And what about Jia? Tae will take her, Seo-jun said. As soon as I release the evidence, he has a safe house prepared, false identities ready. He'll get her out of the country if necessary, keep her safe until the dust settles. She'll hate that, Elena said, being separated from you. She'll be alive, Seo-jun countered. That's all that matters. They spent the next 3 hours going through the evidence. Elena's background in research, she'd been working toward a graduate degree in criminal justice before Carlos died, made her invaluable. She organized files, created timelines, identified gaps in the evidence that needed to be filled. By the time they finished, dawn was breaking over Seoul. The storm had passed completely, leaving everything covered in pristine snow. You should sleep, Seo-jun said, rubbing his eyes. I have a meeting in 2 hours I can't miss, but you don't need to start Jia's lessons until afternoon. What kind of meeting? Elena asked. Seo-jun hesitated, then seemed to decide she deserved honesty. The kind where I meet with my captains and make sure everyone's in line. The kind that reminds me what I am when I'm not in this office or Jia's room. Can I come? Elena asked. Absolutely not. Why? If I'm going to help you dismantle this organization, shouldn't I understand how it works? Who the key players are? These men are dangerous, Seo-jun said. Some of them won't take kindly to an outsider, especially a woman, in their meetings. It's not safe. Your whole world isn't safe, Elena countered, but I'm choosing to be part of it anyway. So let me see all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. No more secrets. Seo-jun studied her for a long moment, conflict clear on his face. Finally, he nodded. You stay silent. You observe only. And if I tell you to leave, you leave immediately. Understood. Understood. The meeting was held in a warehouse in Gangnam, one of Seo-jun's legitimate business fronts. Elena dressed carefully, professional but not provocative, forgettable. Seo-jun gave her a small earpiece. Tae will be monitoring, he explained. If anything goes wrong, he'll get you out. Don't be a hero. They arrived separately. Seo-jun entered through the front, flanked by guards. Elena came in through a side entrance with Tae, who positioned her in a shadowed observation area where she could see but not be easily noticed. The warehouse floor had been converted into a conference area. 12 men sat around a large table. They ranged in age from late 20s to 60s, but all shared the same hard edge, the same watchful alertness of people who'd survived by being smarter and more ruthless than their enemies. Seo-jun took his seat at the head of the table. The transformation was instantaneous. Gone was the tired father, the grieving husband, the man who'd held Elena in his arms hours ago. In his place sat the director. Cold, commanding, absolute. Gentlemen, he said in Korean, his voice carrying effortlessly. Status reports. Start with the Western Territory. For the next hour, Elena watched as Seo-jun ran his empire with terrifying efficiency. Each captain reported on their operations. Gambling, protection, money, laundering through legitimate businesses, smuggling. Seo-jun listened, asked sharp questions, made decisive calls, but he also redirected. When one captain reported increased violence in his territory, Seo-jun's response was immediate and harsh. I've made my position clear on civilian casualties, he said, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Zero tolerance. You want to fight rival organizations? You do it clean. No bystanders, no collateral damage. This isn't negotiable. With respect, Director, the captain said, the Hwangs aren't playing by those rules. They're hitting our operations indiscriminately. We need to respond with force. Then you respond with precise force, Seo-jun said. Target their operations, their people, not innocent families who happen to be nearby. We're criminals, gentlemen, but we don't have to be monsters. Anyone who can't work within those parameters is welcome to find employment elsewhere. The threat was clear. The captain nodded, backing down. Elena watched, fascinated despite herself. This was the man people feared. But even here, even in this world of violence and crime, he was trying to maintain some kind of code. Some line he wouldn't cross. Then one of the younger captains spoke up, his tone casual, but his eyes calculating. Speaking of civilians, Director, I've heard interesting rumors about a certain teacher in your household. The staff says she's become quite important to you and the young miss. Is that wise, given current tensions? The room went silent. Every man at that table turned to look at Seo-jun. Elena felt her heart stop. Seo-jun's expression didn't change, but something in the air shifted, became charged with danger. My personal life, he said quietly, is not your concern, Han. Your concern is managing the shipping routes I've assigned to you. How are those progressing? Han smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Smoothly, Director. I just worry about security. If our enemies discover vulnerabilities in your household, it puts all of us at risk. The only risk to this organization, Seo-jun said, his voice dropping to something lethal, is disloyalty. My security is my concern. You do well to focus on your own operations and stop worrying about mine. Am I clear? Crystal, Han said, but his smile remained. The meeting concluded shortly after. As the captains filed out, Elena saw several of them glance in Han's direction with expressions ranging from approval to concern. This man, whoever he was, had just publicly questioned Seo-jun's judgment that was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Or, Elena realized with growing dread, incredibly calculating, like he was testing something, probing for weakness. After everyone left, Tae brought Elena down to the main floor. Seo-jun was standing by the windows, tension radiating from his body. Han is a problem, Tae said bluntly. He's been gathering support among the younger captains, questioning your decisions. This was the first time he's been bold enough to do it publicly. I know, Seo-jun said. How much support does he have? Maybe a third of the organization, Tae estimated. Not enough to move against you directly, but enough to cause problems if he decides to. Could he be working with the Hwangs? Elena asked. Both men turned to look at her. Seo-jun's eyes were sharp, reassessing. It's possible, he said slowly. The timing would make sense. The Hwangs have been probing our defenses for months. Having someone inside would give them a significant advantage. Then we need to know for sure, Elena said. Before you release the evidence, if there's a traitor in your organization, he could warn the Hwangs, give them time to destroy evidence or disappear. How do you propose we find out? Seo-jun asked. Elena thought for a moment, her research instincts kicking in. Feed him false information, something specific, then watch to see if the Hwangs act on it. If they do, you know he's your leak. Tae nodded slowly. That could work, but we'd need to be careful. Make it believable. And make sure it doesn't put anyone at real risk, Seo-jun added. He looked at Elena with something that might have been pride. You're good at this. The strategic thinking. Carlos must have trained you well. He wanted me to join the force after graduation, Elena said quietly. I was studying criminal justice. He said I had the mind for investigation. Then he died, and She trailed off. You came here instead, Seo-jun finished. To finish what he started. Something like that. The three of them stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their situation settling over them. The charity event, Tae said suddenly. December 15th. That would be a perfect opportunity to test Han, and to make a public statement about Miss Reyes's position in your household. Show our enemies that she's under your protection. That makes her a target, Seo-jun said sharply. She's already a target, Tae countered. The moment Han mentioned her in the meeting, every captain there started calculating how to use her as leverage. Better to face it head on. Show strength rather than try to hide weakness. Elena's mind was racing. The charity event. It's public, right? Media coverage? Important people? Yes, Seo-jun said warily. Business leaders, politicians, community figures. It's our annual demonstration of civic responsibility, a carefully staged performance. Then we use it, Elena said, ideas forming rapidly. We make a show of unity, you, Me, Jia, a family. Let Han and anyone else watching see that I'm not a weakness to exploit. I'm a strength, someone who's chosen to stand with you publicly. That's putting a target on your back, Seo-jun said. The target's already there, Elena pointed out. Ty's right. Better to acknowledge it and show we're not afraid. Plus, if we're testing Han with false information, doing it at a public event where we can control the environment makes sense. Seo-jun looked between them, clearly torn between his instinct to protect and his understanding that they were right. All right, he said finally. We'll use the charity event, but with conditions, enhanced security. Ty coordinates everything. And Elena, you follow every safety protocol without question. Agreed, Elena said. I'll start planning, Tay said, and I'll develop the false information to feed Han. Something juicy enough to make him bite, but not dangerous enough to cause real damage if the Hwangs act on it. He left, leaving Elena and Seo-jun alone in the warehouse. Are you sure about this? Seo-jun asked quietly. Once we go public at that event, there's no taking it back. Every enemy I have will know you matter to me, to us. That makes you vulnerable. Elena stepped close to him, taking his hands in hers. I've been vulnerable since the day I walked into your house. I've been a target since the moment I decided to stay. But Seo-jun, I'm not fragile. I'm not some innocent who needs to be locked away for safety. I'm Carlos Martinez's sister. He taught me how to fight, how to think, how to survive. Let me use those skills. Let me be your partner, not your liability. Seo-jun pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. I'm not used to this. Trusting someone, working with someone as an equal. It terrifies me more than any of the Hwang's threats. Then we'll be terrified together, Elena whispered. But we'll also be brave together. For Jia, for the life we're trying to build. They stood like that for a long moment, drawing strength from each other. Outside, Seoul was waking up, unaware that in a warehouse in Gangnam, 3 people were plotting to tear down an empire and build something better from its ashes. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparation. Seo-jun and Ty developed an elaborate false intelligence package about a supposed weapons shipment coming through Incheon port. They made sure Han overheard discussions about it, saw documents that suggested it was a major operation Seo-jun was personally overseeing. Meanwhile, Elena worked with Jia, maintaining their normal routine while slowly preparing the child for what was coming. She didn't tell her everything. Jia was still only 8, but she helped her understand that change was coming and that change could be good even when it was scary. In the evenings, after Jia went to bed, Elena and Seo-jun would work together in his office, going through evidence, refining their strategy, and slowly, carefully, learning how to be together, how to trust, how to build something real in the midst of chaos. They were careful not to move too fast. Kisses stolen in quiet moments, hands held under tables. The kind of slow courtship that felt absurd given their circumstances, but also necessary. They were building a foundation. It needed to be solid. 5 days before the charity event, Tai confirmed their suspicions. The Hwang syndicate had mobilized forces to intercept the fictional weapons shipment. They'd fallen for the false intelligence completely, which meant Han was definitely their leak. What do we do about him? Elena asked during an emergency meeting in Seo-jun's office. Nothing yet, Seo-jun said. We keep feeding him information, use him to misdirect the Hwangs. When we release the evidence in January, his betrayal will be part of the package. He'll go down with everyone else. And if he makes a move before then? Tae asked. Then we deal with it, Seo-jun said flatly. But I don't think he will. He's patient, building his support, waiting for the right moment. As long as he thinks he's successfully working both sides, he'll stay put. The charity event loomed closer. Elena had a dress made, elegant but not flashy, deep blue silk that made her feel both beautiful and armored. Seo-jun had arranged for a full security detail, though they'd be dressed as regular staff to avoid alarming the guests. Jia was excited about the event in the way only a child could be, seeing it as an adventure rather than the strategic maneuver it actually was. She'd picked out her own dress, a silver confection that made her look like a little princess. The night before the event, as Elena was leaving her room to head home, she still maintained her own apartment, though she spent most of her time at the mansion now. Jia appeared in the hallway. "Miss Elena," she said quietly, "are you scared about tomorrow?" Elena knelt down to the child's level. "A little scared, but also brave. You can be both at the same time, you know." "Dad's scared too," Jia said. "I can tell he keeps checking the locks extra times, and he's been sleeping even less than usual." "Your dad has a lot on his mind," Elena said carefully. "But he's also very strong, and he's not alone anymore. He has us." Jia threw her arms around Elena's neck. "I'm glad you stayed. I'm glad you're going to be my mom, even if it's scary sometimes." Elena held the child close, feeling tears prick her eyes. "I'm glad too, sweetheart. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever challenges come, we're a family now, and families stick together." "Always?" Jia asked. "Always," Elena promised. The next morning dawned clear and cold. December 15th had arrived. The charity event would begin at 7 o'clock, and whatever happened there would set the course for everything that followed. Elena dressed carefully, did her makeup, and stared at herself in the mirror. She looked confident, composed, nothing like the scared, angry woman who'd walked into the Bayek mansion 6 months ago seeking revenge. That woman had found something she never expected: love, family, purpose. And tonight, she'd stand beside Seo-jun and claim it publicly. Consequences be damned. Her phone buzzed, a text from Seo-jun. "The car is waiting, are you ready?" Elena smiled and typed back, "Ready, let's do this." She grabbed her small evening bag, took one last look at her, reflection, and headed out to face whatever the night would bring. The Grand Hyatt Seoul ballroom had been transformed into a winter wonderland. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across white-clothed tables, decorated with silver and ice blue centerpieces. A string quartet played classical music near the entrance. Men in tuxedos and women in evening gowns circulated with champagne glasses, their conversations a careful dance of business and pleasure. Elena arrived with Seo-jun and Jia, and immediately felt every eye in the room turn toward them. The attention wasn't subtle. Conversations paused mid-sentence. Heads turned, whispers spread like wildfire. Seo-jun kept his hand on the small of Elena's back, a possessive but protective gesture that announced his intentions to everyone watching. Jia walked between them, holding both their hands, looking like a princess in her silver dress. They made a striking picture: a family, intentionally, provocatively, a family. Director Bayek, a silver-haired businessman, approached, his smile professionally warm, but his eyes calculating. "How wonderful to see you. And this must be young Jia. My, how you've grown." "President Choi," Seo-jun acknowledged with a slight nod. "Thank you for attending. May I introduce Elena Reyes? She's Jia's educator and a close family friend." The word family did exactly what Seo-jun intended. President Choi's eyebrows rose fractionally. He extended his hand to Elena, studying her with undisguised curiosity. "Miss Reyes, a pleasure. Any friend of Director Bayek's is most welcome." "The pleasure is mine," Elena said smoothly, her Korean accent careful but competent. She'd been practicing. More introductions followed. Business leaders, politicians, community organizers, each one registering Elena's presence with varying degrees of surprise, approval, or concern. Seo-jun navigated it all with practiced ease, his hand never leaving Elena's back, his message clear to everyone watching. Across the room, Elena spotted Han. He was younger than most of the other captains, maybe 35, with sharp features and sharper eyes. He was watching them with an expression of calculated interest, a slight smile playing at his lips. When his gaze met Elena's, he raised his champagne glass in a mock toast. "He's bold," Elena murmured to Seo-jun. "He thinks he's won something," Seo-jun replied quietly. "Let him think that." Overconfidence makes people careless. Uncle Tae materialized beside them, dressed in a tuxedo that somehow made him look more dangerous rather than less. Security is in position, everything is green. But, Director, there are several individuals here who weren't on the guest list. Lower-level Huang associates. They're keeping their distance, but they're watching. Expected, Seo-jun said. They want to see our response. Let them watch. Jia tugged on Elena's hand. Can we go see the dessert table? Uncle Tai said there's a chocolate fountain. Elena looked to Seo-jun, who nodded. Go ahead, but stay where Tai can see you. Don't leave the main room. Elena took Jia's hand and they navigated through the crowd toward the elaborate dessert display. As they walked, Elena felt eyes tracking their movement. Some merely curious, others hostile. The weight of attention was almost physical. At the dessert table, Jia immediately focused on selecting the perfect strawberries to dip in chocolate. Elena stood beside her, hyper-aware of their surroundings, of the security personnel positioned strategically around the room, of Seo-jun across the ballroom talking with a group of suited men. Miss Reyes. Elena turned to find Han standing beside her, his smile friendly in a way that set off every alarm bell in her head. Captain Han, she acknowledged, keeping her voice neutral. Please, just Han. We're all friends here. He selected a Petit Four from the display. I wanted to introduce myself properly. Director Bayek keeps you very protected, isolated. I imagine that must be lonely sometimes. I'm not lonely, Elena said evenly. I have everything I need. Do you? Han's smile widened. Do you know what you've walked into, Miss Reyes? The kind of world you're now part of? Or did our director paint you a romanticized picture? Elena met his gaze directly. I know exactly what world I'm in, and I chose to be here. That's more than can be said for people who smile to someone's face while planning to stab them in the back. Han's expression flickered, just for a moment. Surprise, maybe? Or respect? You're not what I expected. Most civilian women would be terrified. I'm not most women, Elena said, and I'm not as civilian as you might think. Jia, finished with her strawberry selection, tugged on Elena's hand again. Can we go back to Dad now? Of course, sweetheart. Elena looked back at Han. Excuse us. She guided Jia away, feeling Han's eyes on her back. When they reached Seo-jun, she leaned in close and whispered, Han just tried to feel me out. He's testing boundaries, seeing if I'm weak or uninformed. And what did he learn? Seo-jun asked quietly. That I'm neither. Seo-jun's hand found hers, squeezed. Good. Let him be confused. Confusion creates hesitation. The evening progressed. Dinner was served. Multiple courses, each more elaborate than the last. Speeches were made. Seo-jun spoke briefly about the importance of community support and giving back, his words carefully crafted to present the image of a legitimate businessman concerned with civic responsibility. Elena watched him perform this role with something like awe. He was so convincing, so smooth. If she hadn't known better, she might have believed he was exactly what he appeared to be. After dinner, the music shifted from classical to something more contemporary. A dance floor opened up. Couples began to move together, swaying to the rhythm. Seo-jun stood, extended his hand to Elena. Dance with me? It wasn't really a question. It was the next move in their carefully orchestrated performance. Elena took his hand and let him lead her onto the floor. His arms came around her waist. Her hands rested on his shoulders. They moved together with surprising ease, as if they'd done this 1,000 times before. Everyone's watching, Elena murmured. I know, Seo-jun said. That's the point. Let them see. Let them understand that you're not hidden away, not a secret. You're here, part of my life, part of Jia's life. And what happens when your enemies decide to use that against you? Then they'll discover that some things are worth fighting for, Seo-jun said, pulling her closer. Worth protecting, worth dying for if necessary. Elena's breath caught. In the soft light of the ballroom, with music playing and danger lurking at the edges, Seo-jun looked at her like she was the only person in the world, Like everything else, the crowd, the performance, the threats, all faded to background noise when she was in his arms. You can't say things like that, Elena whispered. You can't make me believe in fairy tales when we're standing in the middle of a nightmare. Maybe fairy tales are just nightmares we survived together, Seo-jun said. Maybe that's what makes them worth telling. The song ended. Another began. They kept dancing. Around them, other couples moved in their own orbits, but Elena felt disconnected from all of it. There was only Seo-jun's arms around her, his heartbeat steady beneath her palm, his eyes holding secrets and promises in equal measure. I need to tell you something, Seo-jun said quietly. After tonight, after we've made this public statement, the Hwangs will escalate. They'll see you as a weakness to exploit. Tai has already developed additional security protocols. Starting tomorrow, you'll have a bodyguard. Someone who'll shadow you whenever you leave the mansion. I don't need— Yes, you do, Seo-jun interrupted, his voice firm. This isn't negotiable, Elena. If something happened to you because I didn't take proper precautions, I couldn't live with that. Please, let me protect you. Elena saw the fear in his eyes, the memory of his wife, bleeding out, the terror of losing someone else he loved. She nodded. Okay, but the same goes for Jia. Enhanced security, no exceptions. Already done, Seo-jun said. She doesn't leave the mansion grounds without a full security detail, and Tai is personally overseeing her protection. They danced in silence for a moment longer. Then Elena noticed movement at the edge of the ballroom. One of the unidentified Hwang associates was making a phone call, his eyes fixed on the dance floor. On them. We're being reported on, she said quietly. I know, Seo-jun replied. Good. Let the Hwangs know exactly where we stand. Let them make their move. We'll be ready. The song ended. Seo-jun led Elena back to their table where Jia was entertaining herself by making elaborate napkin origami under Uncle Tai's watchful eye. Are you two married yet? Jia asked innocently, loudly enough for nearby tables to hear. Elena choked on air. Seo-jun coughed. Uncle Tai's lips twitched in what might have been amusement. Not yet, little boss, Seo-jun said, recovering his composure. These things take time. But you're going to, right? Jia pressed. Because you love each other. I can tell. Every person at the surrounding tables was now blatantly eavesdropping. Elena felt her face heating. Jia, Seo-jun said gently, this isn't the appropriate time. Why not? Jia asked with perfect 8-year-old logic. You always say honesty is important. You always say I should speak the truth. So I'm speaking the truth. You love Miss Elena. She loves you. That's what people do when they love each other. They get married and become a family. Right? Seo-jun looked at Elena, something vulnerable and hopeful in his expression. Elena looked back, her heart hammering. This wasn't how she'd imagined this conversation happening. Not in a ballroom full of criminals and politicians. Not with dozens of eyes watching. Not with danger closing in from all sides. But maybe that was exactly when it needed to happen. When everything was uncertain. When the future was a question mark. Maybe that's when you had to be most honest about what mattered. Right, Elena said softly, her eyes never leaving Seo-jun's. That's exactly what people do. Jia beamed. See? I told you, I'm very smart. Yes, you are, Seo-jun said, his voice rough with emotion. Very smart indeed. The moment was broken by Tai's quiet voice. Director, we have a situation. North entrance. 3 additional Hwang associates just arrived. They're not on any list, and they're armed. Seo-jun's entire demeanor shifted. The soft father and gentle lover vanished. In his place stood the director, cold and calculating. Get Jia and Elena to the car, he said quietly. Back exit, full security detail. Now. What about you? Elena asked. I'll handle this. Tae, once they're secure, send the team back and find out what the Hwangs think they're doing crashing my event with weapons. Seo-jun, Elena started, Go, he said, his eyes meeting hers. Please, I need to know you're both safe. I can't think clearly if I'm worried about you. Elena wanted to argue, wanted to insist on staying, but Jia's hand was in hers, small and trusting, and she realized Seo-jun was right. Their safety had to come first. Be careful, she said. Always, Seo-jun replied, though they both knew it was a lie. Tae moved with military efficiency, gathering Elena and Jia and 4 other security personnel. They slipped through the ballroom toward a service exit, moving quickly, but not frantically enough to cause alarm. They were halfway down the service corridor when Elena heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Footsteps. Too many footsteps. Coming from ahead of them. Tae heard it too. He raised his hand, stopping the group, pushed Elena and Jia behind him, drew his weapon with practiced ease. Stay back, he ordered. 6 men emerged from the shadows ahead. They wore service uniforms, but the weapons in their hands and the hard look in their eyes told a different story. These weren't staff. These were Hwang operatives. Director Bayek's family, the lead man said in Korean. You're coming with us. Quietly, and nobody gets hurt. You're in the wrong building, Tae replied calmly. Turn around now, and you might survive the night. There are 6 of us, 4 of you, plus 2 civilians. The math doesn't work in your favor. You're counting wrong, Tae said. You have 6 men who think they're tough. I have 4 soldiers who've survived worse than you can imagine. That math works just fine. The standoff stretched. Elena's heart was pounding. Jia was pressed against her side, trembling but silent. She could feel the child's fear, could feel her own fear rising. Then she remembered. Carlos had trained her. Years ago, before he joined the force. Basic self-defense, how to handle a weapon, how to create distractions, how to survive. Elena's hand slipped into her evening bag. She'd brought the pepper spray, a small canister Seo-jun's security had cleared. Her fingers closed around it. On my count, Tae murmured to his team. 3, 2. Elena threw the pepper spray forward, hard. It hit the ground between the 2 groups and exploded, filling the corridor with caustic mist. The Hwang operatives reacted instinctively, covering their eyes, cursing. Tae's team moved. It was over in seconds. 4 men down, disarmed, 2 running. Tae on his radio calling for backup and securing the corridor. Smart thinking, he said to Elena, though his eyes were already scanning for additional threats. But we need to move. Now. They wouldn't send just 6 men. There are more. They ran, down corridors, through kitchens. Elena held Jia's hand tight, pulling the child along, whispering reassurances, even as her own fear threatened to overwhelm her. They burst out into the parking area. The car was waiting, engine running. They piled in. Tires squealed as they pulled away from the hotel. Only when they were blocks away, surrounded by normal Seoul traffic, did Elena let herself breathe. Jia was crying quietly. Elena pulled her close, stroking her hair. It's okay. We're safe now. Uncle Tae kept us safe. They wanted to take us, Jia whispered. To hurt Dad. I heard them talking. But they didn't, Elena said firmly. And they won't. You're protected, sweetheart. Always. Tae was on the phone with Seo-jun, giving a rapid-fire report. Elena couldn't hear Seo-jun's responses, but she could see the tension in Tae's shoulders. When he hung up, he turned to look at them. The director is handling the situation at the hotel. The Hwang operatives who crashed the event have been contained. But this was coordinated. The ones in the corridor knew exactly where we'd be, which exit we'd use. Someone told them, Elena realized. Someone inside Seo-jun's organization. Han, Tae said, grimly. Has to be. This was too precise, too well-timed. He's not just leaking information. He's actively coordinating with the Hwangs. What do we do? We go to the safe house, lock down, and we wait for the director to handle Han permanently. The word permanently hung in the air. Elena understood what it meant, what it had to mean in this world. Han had crossed a line, endangered a child. That kind of betrayal only ended one way, but she also understood the cost, the weight Seo-jun would carry. Another life taken, another piece of his soul sacrificed for survival. They drove in silence to a property Elena had never seen before. A modern apartment building in Gangnam, completely unremarkable from the outside. Inside, the penthouse was a fortress, reinforced doors, security cameras, weapon storage, a panic room. "You'll stay here until it's safe," Tae said. "Director's orders. I'll be back with updates within the hour." "Tell him we're okay," Elena said. "Tell him Jia is safe. He needs to know that." Tae nodded and left, the locks engaged behind him with heavy finality. Jia had stopped crying but was pale and shaken. Elena got her settled on the couch with a blanket, made her tea even though the child was probably too young for caffeine. She needed something warm, something normal. "I'm sorry," Jia said quietly. "For what, sweetheart? For asking about marriage at the event? For saying those things out loud? Maybe if I hadn't, the bad men wouldn't have come." Elena's heart broke. She pulled the child close. No, Jia, this wasn't your fault. The bad men came because they're bad, because they make bad choices. Nothing you said or did caused this." "But they want to hurt Dad by hurting us," Jia said, her voice small and scared. "I heard them. They said taking us would make Dad weak, make him give up." "Your father will never give up," Elena said fiercely. "Not on you, not on us, not on building a better life. Those men don't understand that. They think love is weakness, but they're wrong. Love makes us stronger. It gives us something to fight for." Jia was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked up at Elena with those two knowing eyes. "Are you going to marry my dad?" Elena smiled despite everything. "Probably, if he asks properly, and if you approve." "I approve," Jia said immediately. "I approved months ago. That's why I locked you in the library." "You're a menace," Elena said affectionately. "I'm efficient," Jia corrected, sounding so much like Seo-jun that Elena had to laugh. They sat together, waiting for news. Waiting for Seo-jun, waiting to find out what happened after the charity event they'd turned into a battlefield. 2 hours later, the locks disengaged. Seo-jun entered, followed by Tae. His tuxedo was rumpled. His knuckles were split and bleeding, but he was alive. He was whole. Jia ran to him. He caught her up, held her tight, his eyes closing with relief. "I'm okay," he murmured. "We're all okay." "Han?" Elena asked quietly. "Gone," Seo-jun said flatly. "He won't be a problem anymore. Neither will the Hwang operatives who tried to take you. But Elena, this changes everything. They're not just probing anymore. They're actively trying to get to me through you and Jia. We can't wait until January. We have to move up the timeline." "How soon?" Elena asked. 2 weeks, Seo-jun said. "December 29th. I'll release the evidence to the international prosecutor. And then we run. All of us. Leave Seoul, new identities, new life. It's the only way to keep you both safe." "That's barely enough time to prepare," Tae pointed out. "Then we work fast," Seo-jun said. "Whatever it takes. Because tonight proved that the Hwangs are willing to go further than I anticipated, and I won't risk losing either of you." He pulled Elena into his arms. Jia still held between them. The three of them stood there in the safe house, holding each other against the darkness closing in. 2 weeks, Elena repeated. "And then we're free?" "And then we're free," Seo-jun confirmed. "Or we die trying. There's no middle ground anymore." Outside, Seoul continued its endless motion. Millions of people living their normal lives, unaware that in a penthouse in Gangnam, 3 people were planning the destruction of an empire and the birth of something new. 2 weeks until Christmas. 2 weeks until everything changed. 2 weeks to survive. The next 14 days moved with brutal efficiency. SEO Jun and Tai worked around the clock preparing the evidence package, coordinating with the international prosecutor, and arranging their escape route. Elena helped organize documentation, while also trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy for Jia. But normalcy was impossible. The safe house became their world. Armed guards at every entrance, bulletproof windows, no going outside, no contact with anyone beyond their small circle of trusted people. Jia handled it with remarkable resilience, though Elena could see the strain. The child who'd been so excited about Christmas was now living in a fortress, counting down days until her entire life would change. On December 20th, Seo Jun called an emergency meeting. Tai had discovered something in the financial records they were preparing for the prosecutor. Something that changed everything. The car bomb that killed Suyeon, Seo Jun said, his voice hollow. The one I've always blamed on the Hwangs, they didn't order it. Elena felt ice slide down her spine. What are you saying? I'm saying someone inside my own organization ordered that hit. Someone who wanted Suyeon dead, who wanted me broken and focused on revenge against the wrong enemy. Seo Jun's hands were shaking. I've been fighting the Hwangs for 8 years over a murder they didn't commit. Who? Tae demanded. Who would dare? Seo Jun pulled up a file on his laptop. Financial transfers, encrypted communications, a paper trail that had taken 3 years to piece together and only became clear when viewed alongside the Hwang evidence. My cousin, Seo Jun said, Baek Jae-sung, my father's brother's son. He's been working with the Hwangs for years. He arranged Suyeon's death to destabilize me, to start a war between my organization and theirs, to weaken both sides so he could eventually take control of everything. Where is he now? Elena asked. Tokyo, Tai said, checking his phone. Has been for 3 days. He left right after the charity event, when Han's plan failed. He knew, Seo Jun realized. He knew we were getting close to the truth. That's why the Hwangs tried to grab you and Jia. Not to hurt me, to distract me, to keep me focused on the wrong enemy while Jae-sung positioned himself to take over both organizations. So what do we do? Elena asked. Seo Jun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was ice. We adjust the plan. The evidence still goes to the prosecutor on December 29th. But before that, we deal with Jae-sung. Personally. That's suicide, Tae said. He's in Hwang territory, surrounded by their soldiers and ours who've switched loyalty to him. We can't get to him. We can if we give him something he wants, Seo Jun said. Me. He's been trying to destroy me for 8 years. We let him think he's succeeded, draw him out, and then we end this. All of it. You're talking about using yourself as bait, Elena said, her blood running cold. I'm talking about finishing what Suyeon started, Seo Jun corrected. She tried to make me better, tried to show me there was another way. She died before she could complete that transformation. But maybe this is how I honor her. By choosing justice over revenge. By making sure the right person pays for her death. And by protecting our daughter from the poison of false vengeance. The words "our daughter" weren't lost on anyone in the room. Elena felt tears sting her eyes. When? She asked. Christmas Eve, Seo Jun said. We arrange a meeting. Tell Jae-sung I want to negotiate, that I've discovered his betrayal and I'm willing to split territory to avoid a war. He'll agree because he thinks he's won, that I'm weak, desperate. And then, when he's exposed, we take him down. And the Hwangs? Tae asked. Get the evidence too, Seo Jun said. They've been tools in Jae-sung's game just like we have. Once they see proof of his manipulation, they'll turn on him. Let them have that justice. We'll have ours. The plan was insane, dangerous, probably fatal. But looking at Seo Jun's face, Elena understood. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about truth, about making sure Suyeon's death had meaning, about protecting Jia from inheriting a legacy built on lies. I'm coming with you, Elena said. Absolutely not. Yes, Elena insisted. You need someone there who isn't connected to either organization. Someone who can document everything. Be a witness. I'm coming. They argued for an hour, but Elena was immovable. Finally, Seo-jun agreed, but only with extensive security protocols. She'd wear a bulletproof vest, stay in a protected position, have an extraction team ready, and if anything went wrong, she'd run. No heroics. The next 4 days were a blur of preparation. They leaked false information about Seo-jun's desperation. Let word spread that he was ready to negotiate, to surrender territory. Jae-sung took the bait, agreeing to meet on Christmas Eve at a neutral warehouse near the river. On December 23rd, Elena and Seo-jun had a quiet moment alone, while Jia napped. They stood at the safe house window, looking out at Seoul decorated for Christmas. Lights everywhere. Joy and celebration just beyond their fortress walls. If something happens tomorrow, Seo-jun said quietly, if I don't make it back, don't, Elena interrupted. Don't say it. I have to, Seo-jun insisted. He took her hands in his. If I don't make it back, the evidence still goes to the prosecutor. Tae has instructions. You and Jia will be taken to safety. New identities are prepared, money in untraceable accounts. You'll be protected. You'll be free. I don't want to be free without you, Elena said, tears streaming down her face. Then I'll do everything in my power to come back, Seo-jun said. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, beautiful. I was going to wait, do this properly, after everything was resolved. But Jia was right that night at the charity event. When you love someone, you tell them. You don't wait for perfect timing because perfect timing doesn't exist. He got down on one knee, right there in the safe house, with armed guards outside and death waiting tomorrow. Elena Reyes, you came into my life seeking revenge and gave me redemption instead. You saw a monster and found a man. You loved my daughter when you had every reason to hate her father. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend whatever time I have left trying to be worthy of you? Elena pulled him to his feet, kissed him hard. Yes, yes, of course, yes. But Seo-jun, you're coming back tomorrow. We're both coming back, and we're giving Jia the family she asked for. The Christmas miracle she believes in. He slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, like it was meant to be there. They held each other as the sun set over Seoul, as Christmas Eve approached, as the final confrontation loomed. Christmas Eve dawned gray and cold. Elena dressed in layers, bulletproof vest under a heavy jacket. Seo-jun wore the same. They looked like they were preparing for war, because they were. Jia woke early. She found them in the living room, going over final preparations with Tae. The child looked between them, her face solemn. You're going to fight today, she said, not a question. A statement. Yes, Seo-jun said, not lying to her, never lying to her. And you might not come back. We're going to do everything we can to come back, Elena said, kneeling beside her. But sweetheart, sometimes grown-ups have to do dangerous things to protect the people they love. Your dad is doing that. I'm helping him do that. Jia looked at the ring on Elena's finger. Her eyes widened. You said yes. I said yes, Elena confirmed. So we're a family now? For real? For real, Seo-jun said, his voice rough. No matter what happens today, we're a family, always. Jia threw her arms around both of them. Then you have to come back because families don't leave each other. You taught me that, Dad. You said it after Mom died, that even though she was gone, she'd always be part of our family. So you can't leave. You have to come back and marry Miss Elena, and we have to have Christmas together. That's how families work. Seo-jun's composure cracked. He held his daughter tight, tears flowing freely. You're right. That's exactly how families work. And I promise, Jia, I promise I will do everything in my power to come home to you. Both of you, Jia said, looking at Elena. Both of you promise. Both of us promise, Elena said, even though she knew promises made in the face of danger were fragile things. Tai cleared his throat. It's time. They said goodbye to Jia, left her in the safe house with 4 guards and explicit instructions to extract her to a backup location if they didn't return by midnight. Then they drove through Seoul's Christmas Eve, traffic toward the warehouse by the river. The building was exactly what it appeared to be: abandoned, neutral territory, neither side's home ground. Tai had swept it twice for traps. His team was positioned on rooftops with long-range weapons. Elena and Seo-jun had emergency extraction routes planned, but even the best plans fell apart when reality hit. They entered the warehouse at 6 o'clock. Jae-sung was already there, along with a dozen men, half from Seo-jun's organization, half Hwang operatives. The traitor stood in the center, looking smug and confident. He was in his late 40s, handsome in a cruel way, with Seo-jun's family features twisted by greed and ambition. When he saw Seo-jun and Elena enter, his smile widened. "Cousin," he said in Korean, "how kind of you to come. And you brought your pretty teacher. How domestic." "Jae-sung," Seo-jun replied, his voice flat. "Let's skip the pleasantries. I know what you did. Soo-yeon, the bomb. Working with the Hwangs to destabilize both organizations. All of it." Jae-sung's smile never wavered. "Took you long enough. I was beginning to think you'd never figure it out. 8 years of chasing the wrong enemy. Honestly, cousin, I expected better from you." "Why?" Seo-jun asked. "Why Soo-yeon? She was innocent. She never hurt you." "Because she made you soft," Jae-sung spat. "You were supposed to be a king, ruthless, powerful. But she turned you into something weak, something that cared about rules and honor and not hurting civilians. That's not how our world works. So I removed the problem. And look how well it worked. You've spent 8 years being exactly the monster you were supposed to be. Exactly what this organization needed." "And now?" Seo-jun asked. "Now your you's up," Jae-sung said simply. "You've made enemies. The authorities are circling. You've become a liability. So I'm taking over both organizations, unified under my control, the way they should have been from the start." "There's just one problem with your plan," Elena said, speaking for the first time. She pulled out a small device from her pocket. "Everything you just said was recorded and transmitted to the international prosecutor, to the Hwang syndicate's leadership, to media outlets, to everyone who needs to know the truth." Jae-sung's face went white, then red with rage. "You think you're clever? You think evidence matters? I own half the police force. I have judges in my pocket. I'll bury this and you with it." "You might have local officials," Seo-jun said, "but you don't own international law enforcement, or the Hwang family elders who are discovering right now that you've been using them as pawns, or my loyal captains who just received the same evidence and are probably surrounding this building as we speak." As if on cue, lights blazed outside. Cars screeched to a halt. Dozens of armed men poured out, Seo-jun's people, coming to their director's aid, and behind them, incredibly, Hwang syndicate soldiers. The 2 rival groups weren't fighting. They were together, united against the common enemy who'd manipulated them both. Jae-sung's men looked uncertain, trapped. They dropped their weapons one by one. Jae-sung himself pulled a gun, aiming it at Seo-jun. "You've destroyed everything. Both organizations will be torn apart by this evidence." "What was the point?" "The point," Seo-jun said calmly, "is that some things need to be destroyed to be reborn, that my daughter deserves better than a legacy built on lies, that your victims, Soo-yeon, Elena's brother Carlos, countless others, deserve justice, and that sometimes the only way to win is to burn it all down and start over." "Poetic," Jae-sung snarled, "but you're still going to die." He pulled the trigger. Elena moved without thinking, throwing herself at Seo-jun. The bullet caught her shoulder instead of his chest. The impact spun her around. Pain exploded through her body. Everything happened in flashes after that. Tae's team bursting in, Jae-sung being tackled, disarmed, Seo-jun catching Elena as she fell, his face above hers, terrified and furious and desperate. "Stay with me," he was saying. "Elena, stay with me. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine." Elena managed. "Promise. Promise you'll take care of her." "You're going to take care of her yourself," Seo-jun said fiercely. "Because you're going to be fine. Do you hear me? You're going to be fine." But the world was going gray, the pain fading to numbness. Elena's last thought before darkness claimed her was that she'd broken her promise. She'd told Jia she'd come home. Elena woke to soft beeping, clean white walls, the smell of antiseptic, a hospital room, weak winter sunlight streaming through windows. And Seo-jun, asleep in a chair beside her bed, his hand holding hers, his face exhausted and unshaven, but alive. Whole. There. She squeezed his hand weakly. His eyes shot open. Relief flooded his face so completely it was almost painful to witness. "You're awake," he breathed. "Thank God. Thank God you're awake." "How long?" Elena's voice was rough. 2 days. Christmas came and went. The bullet missed major arteries, but you lost a lot of blood. The doctor said it was close. Too close. His hand tightened on hers. "You scared me. You scared Jia. Don't ever do that again." "Jia," Elena said urgently. "Is she? She's fine. She's safe. Tae has her in a secure location. She wants to see you so badly, but we had to wait until you woke up. Until we knew you were okay." "And Jae-sung?" "In custody. International authorities have him, along with evidence that will put him away for the rest of his life. The Hwang syndicate is cooperating fully. They're furious they were manipulated. Both organizations are being dismantled. Everyone involved is facing charges." "Including you?" Elena asked softly. Seo-jun nodded. "Including me. I've already made my statement to prosecutors. They're offering a deal because I turned evidence. Reduced sentence. Maybe 5 years. Maybe less with good behavior and continued cooperation. It's more than I deserve." "It's not enough," Elena said. 5 years is 5 years. Jia doesn't have her father." "But then I'm free," Seo-jun said. "Really free. To be a real father. To marry you properly. To build the life we talked about. 5 years, Elena. I can survive 5 years if I know you and Jia are waiting." Elena felt tears on her face. "We'll wait. However long it takes. We'll wait." The door opened. Tae entered, and behind him, Jia. The little girl had tears streaming down her face. She ran to the bed, carefully crawling up to hug Elena with 8-year-old exuberance and concern. "You came back," Jia sobbed. "You promised, and you came back." "Always," Elena whispered, holding the child close with her good arm. "I'll always come back to you, sweetheart. Always." Seo-jun wrapped his arms around both of them. And there, in that hospital room, 2 days after Christmas, a family held each other and began the process of healing. 1 year later, the small house in Busan was nothing like the Seoul mansion. It was modest, ordinary, perfect. Elena stood in the kitchen making breakfast. Through the window, she could see 9-year-old Jia in the yard, playing with the neighbor's cat. The child was in regular school now, had actual friends, played normal games, laughed freely. The front door opened. Elena turned, her heart leaping the way it did every time, even after a year. Seo-jun walked in carrying groceries. He was thinner than he'd been, harder in some ways, but softer in others. Prison had aged him, but freedom was restoring him day by day. He'd been released 3 weeks ago after serving 14 months, early release for cooperation and good behavior. "Jia's corrupting another animal," Elena said, smiling. "She gets that from you," Seo-jun replied, kissing her softly. "Teaching innocent creatures to trust humans." "Are you calling yourself an innocent creature?" "I'm calling myself lucky," Seo-jun said. He looked at her left hand, where a simple wedding band now accompanied the engagement ring. They'd gotten married in a small ceremony the day after his release. Just the 3 of them, Tae, and a judge. Nothing fancy, everything real. "Did you hear from the prosecutor?" Elena asked. Seo-jun nodded. The Hwang leaders got 20 years. Jae-sung got life without parole. And the territories have been absorbed by legitimate businesses or shut down completely. It's done, Elena. It's really done. And you? How do you feel? Seo-jun was quiet for a moment, watching his daughter through the window. I feel free. Actually free. Not the kind where you're looking over your shoulder, where you're waiting for the next crisis. Just free. Free to be her father, your husband, free to build something good instead of destroying things. Jia burst through the door. Dad, Mom, the cat did the trick I taught it. Come see. She grabbed both their hands, pulling them outside into the winter sunshine. They let themselves be dragged, laughing, into the yard where a tabby cat was indeed performing a clumsy but earnest trick for treats. As they watched, Seo-jun's arm around Elena's waist, Jia, explaining cat psychology with the same intensity she once used to engineer their relationship, Elena thought about Christmas a year ago. About violence and fear and desperate promises. And she thought about this moment. This ordinary, beautiful, perfect moment. A family in a yard. A child and her cat. A man learning to be normal. A woman who'd found home in the last place she'd expected. Best Christmas gift ever, Jia announced, finishing her demonstration and beaming at them both. Actually, Seo-jun said, pulling Elena closer, I think the best gift is yet to come. Elena looked at him sharply. He was smiling, that soft smile he only used for family. What did you do? I enrolled in university, he said. Business administration, legitimate business. I figured if I'm starting over, I should do it right. Learn how to build things legally. Seo-jun, that's wonderful, Elena said. And, he continued, his smile widening, I talked to Tae. He's opening a security consulting firm. Legal, proper. He wants me to join as a partner once I have my degree. Says my strategic mind would be valuable in legitimate security work. From crime lord to security consultant, Elena mused. That's quite a career change. From revenge seeker to teacher to wife and mother, Seo-jun countered. We're both full of surprises. Jia had stopped paying attention to them, focused entirely on her cat training. But she was humming, a Christmas carol, in December again, this time without fear. You know what I learned this year? Seo-jun said quietly. What? That Jia was right all along. Love isn't weakness. It's the strongest thing there is. Strong enough to break chains. Strong enough to rebuild lives. Strong enough to give people hope when everything seems lost. Elena leaned into him, watching their daughter, feeling winter sun on her face and peace in her heart. Strong enough for Christmas miracles. Strong enough for Christmas miracles, Seo-jun agreed. And in that yard in Busan, far from Seoul's shadows, a family that had been forged in darkness stood together in the light. Healing, growing, believing, home at last.